Hello, Brain Trust. We have a very special guest here now to fill you in on the pandemic hitting this planet. The coronavirus is out of control, and there's not much we can do about it. We're sponsored this week by hand sanitizer. I got some, bitches. Y'all don't got none of this? That's on you. That is on you. You should have prepped. You should have doomsday prepped, and now I've got this hoarded. Come at me. Come at me, bro. We got a very special guest here. He is a friend of mine. We used to be on the Today Show together. His name is Dr. Larry Burchett, M.D. He has actively practiced as an ER doctor in California for over 10 years. He's the medical expert for Fox TV in San Francisco for the last 4 years. And in his own bio, it says the following. He fell in love with Ben Glebe when they met on the Today Show years ago. We used to be on the Today Show together with Kathy Lee and Hoda on the Guys Tell All segment. After a near-death car accident in high school, Dr. Larry became curious about the deeper things in life. And you can watch his video podcast on that very premise called Life Can Change in a Moment on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. I was just a guest on it last week, during the last week on Earth. You can connect with him on Instagram at Dr. Larry Burchett, Burchett, or drlarry.com. Please welcome Dr. Larry Burchett. Hello, Larry. How are you, my friend?
Wow, that's an incredible introduction. Thank you, good sir.
You're very
Good. How are you
welcome.
doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for joining us. I know it's late on a Friday, and I wanted to know when we're going to die. So I had to bring you on. We're all going to die. How much time do we have left?
I would say weeks to months.
Excellent. Excellent.
Sadly, to directly answer that question, a week or two for some people.
Right.
Some people will die in the U.S. from coronavirus for sure.
Right. Are those people mostly old and already sick people, that combo?
Yeah, 70s, 80s, and with lung disease, heart disease, chronic conditions, not in good shape. Granny's still smoking with home oxygen, and then the virus kind of comes through and takes her, unfortunately.
That is very sad and grim. I meant to open this in a comedic way about us dying, and you've confirmed we are indeed dying. I thought I was joking. This death announcement brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's. Our stuff will kill you. Don't eat us. And now you might also die from coronavirus if you come inside our restaurants on account of all the surfaces. McDonald's. Finally now, you can die not just from the food, but also from just the seats.
God, so true.
It is so true. Doc, is someone watching TV in your house? Is pandemonium in the background? I hear very loud television in the background.
Hey guys, can you be quiet for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes while I'm doing this thing? Thank you.
They're going to close the door. You have foreigners in your house. Where's that guy from? England?
He's Australian.
I'm not a fan. They're the ones that took down Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson.
Right, seeing him, he's still with us. I think he's going to be okay.
He's still alive. I thought he announced on Twitter that he was dying.
But I think he's going to be okay.
Okay.
There's rumors that Trump has corona. I don't know if he does or not.
Yeah, he seems impenetrable to stuff. We talked about it on your podcast. He shook hands with a guy with corona, but somehow Trump's luck, he's going to be fine. He'll just Big Mac his way out of it.
I mean, I would have a little bit of concern if he did get coronavirus, just because, what is he, 74?
Yep.
Probably would be okay, but
I mean, he's got a good team around him, at least, as far as doctors-wise, even though he has that fake doctor that says he's in the best health of anybody he's ever seen in his entire life. Break down for us, Doc, what the coronavirus, what the true concern is in all seriousness, and what we don't have to worry about. How bad of a problem is this? How bad is it that it is now designated a pandemic?
Yeah. Young, healthy people, I don't think, have much to worry about in terms of themselves getting gravely ill. What we do have to worry about as a society is what Italy is going through right now, which is their hospitals get full, their ICUs get full, and you run out of ventilators. Some of the numbers that I've seen is that with good medical care, you can get this thing to under 1%
mortality rate.
If you run out of ICU beds and ventilators, it might get up to 5, 6, it might increase exponentially. So that's why we're doing all of these really drastic, extreme, and it strikes me as crazy things like canceling the NBA and all these conferences and schools canceled all that stuff so that ICUs don't get overflowed, that it kind of spreads out the disease a little bit.
But why does that strike you as crazy? If you're saying we might get up to 5-6% mortality rate, we've got maybe 175,000 ventilators. If it was as bad as the 1918 flu epidemic, we might have millions and millions of people sick. We only have 46,000 ER beds. You know that better than anybody, and that could be inundated quickly. Some hospitals in Washington state are already getting inundated. Where are you getting this chill from?
I mean, have you ever experienced anything like this? It is extreme. I think it is kind of crazy. I'm also not saying it's not the right thing to do given the current circumstances, but you know, it is kind of nuts. People are panicky right now.
Yeah, but I think understandably so. Because what do we have to lose? I mean, it's horrible for the economy. The stock market is tanking. We've hit the bell twice to suspend trading. We hadn't done that once in 30 years before that, and now twice in a matter of 2 or 3 days. Stocks are tanking. Airlines are dropping. Any sort of service industry, any sort of travel industry, any front-facing business is bad. Comedy shows are getting canceled. My dates are getting canceled. My comedian friends' dates are getting canceled. It's very difficult for lots. Comedy clubs are closing. I'm mostly comedy focused in a lot of my concern. But obviously, the society at whole is suffering from this. But should we not do it? I'm wondering why we're not going further, why we're not going Italy style and actually quarantining and shutting down society and enforcing by law you cannot go out past a certain hour. You can only do essential services like food and grocery stores. What's the correct move? Isn't it important to try to curtail it from spreading?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can see that line of reasoning where we're at today. This thing's going to get worse before it gets better. So Trump announces today, here, look at Walmart and all of these big corporations that we're going to have more testing. As there's more testing out there, we're going to see more cases documented by the CDC. I think the number today was around 1,200 with 40 deaths or something like that. Now that we're actually going to be testing, which we weren't doing very much before, that number is going to go way up. And there's a delay of about, I don't know, a week or two from when people get it, and then they get really, of those that are going to get really sick, getting critically ill. So it's a couple weeks. So it's out there, it's starting to circulate. In the next week or two, you're going to see the death toll is going to start to climb too. These two things are going to get worse. You may see an Italy-style lockdown on the U.S. We're really not very well positioned given what's happened since January. It's just frustrating to be in this position. If we had these drive-through testing, if you were able to confirm, hey, I don't have it, you could more freely go about your business. If we knew, for example, that, oh, you know what, in Los Angeles, in this corner of Beverly Hills, that's a hot spot, you could avoid that, and it's like, oh no, Santa Monica and Venice, no, there isn't as many positive tests there. But at this point, the cat's out of the bag. That's something we should have put in place months ago that we can't.
And instead, Trump cut the funding for our pandemic response teams, cut our preparedness, and of course is taking no responsibility for it, not to get political on it, but that's a major problem. This is a prime example of when you assume everything's fine and everything's going to be good under your watch, and you irresponsibly cut the preparedness that any responsible administration would be having in place.
I am, really curious about what actually went on in those initial conversations in January. I've heard that they recommended early testing. It's a political year, high number of infections, like look at China. They've got all these infections. Here we go. As we test, our numbers would go up.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't look good to an incumbent president. I don't know if there's truth to that or not. Makes sense to me. Makes you wonder.
Have you been in the ER working recently? What's the vibe like?
I think in the ER, it's not as much on edge as people are in the media and in the community. We see. Can I cuss on this show, or what's your?
I hope that you do.
Yeah. we see shit all day long, you
Although you're
know,
gonna
and
throw us
so,
with shit, yeah, you could say, you can even say fuck if you want.
well, literal. I mean, we see literal
Is it a
shit, and
fucking shit show?
it's always a shit show.
Is it a
This is
fucking
really,
shit show? That's the question.
if you want me to say that,
I would love it.
it's not there yet, but
Okay, it's not yet a fucking shit show.
yeah,
When
but
do we
it's
cross into fucking shit show level? Are people coming in with coronavirus concerns? Are you having to test people? Are you putting on the hazmat suit?
those are a lot of questions. I'll take them one at a time. I had a lady that came in coming back from Hawaii. She developed fever and cough. She was worried she had coronavirus because she was going to travel with a young child and an older person, didn't want to give it to him. I swabbed her and she was positive for influenza. And she was like, Doctor, thank you. I'm so glad I have flu A. I've never had a patient who
Right.
was happy to have influenza. She was just happy she didn't have corona. Yes, absolutely. People are worried that they have this. The more they see it in the media, that testing is available, they're going to come in to get it to try to, you know, assuage those fears.
But
The,
so in to what degree is that completely misguided? Because she has a child and an elderly person. Many more people die every year from influenza than they do obviously from this coronavirus so far. So isn't she more at risk technically now? And
That's
her
actually a
family?
good point. If you took the child, for example, it looks like with coronavirus that this is not a pediatric viral disease. It
Right.
just doesn't get at kids very much.
Right.
Whereas I don't know what the number is. It was 100 and something of kids have died from influenza. It's still incredibly low. So
Right.
really, the kid, and at that age, they weren't super young, under 6 months or infants. So that's okay. But you bring up a good point. Like flu is still a risk that this older person could get it and get into trouble. Not as high. I mean, it's not as certainly influenza is not as serious as corona for older people, but let's not get anybody sick.
I agree with that. If there's an area where we see a cluster of coronavirus cases, should we send an army of children in to disinfect the area because they seem pretty impervious?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up like it's not science fiction to wonder like, could you transfuse some part of a child's? Could you like freeze out some part of the child's immune system and inject it in elderly people as a treatment? That's actually, I mean, there's something to that. What is it in the kid's immune system that's able to fight it off and that they just flick it like a flea and they don't get very
Right.
sick? It's taking down old people.
Maybe until we merge their immune systems, we could just have old people, if they're physically strong enough to lift a child, just hold the child up as some kind of a shield to prevent any droplets getting into their own system.
For a minute there, I thought you might take up a career in microbiology or virology. I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Thank you. Thank you for
The
that.
child shield thing, I think there may be problems with that kind of testing, but I wouldn't totally discourage the line of reasoning.
Thank you. I've been using kids whenever I see them around town. I'll just lift them up, and in case somebody coughs, you know what I mean? The parents don't like it, but I feel as though there's no way to be too overly cautious during a pandemic outbreak. Are you wearing the big hazmat suit when you're swabbing people? People are coming in, they can just run in at you at this ER situation. Are you extra protected?
Yeah, so interesting you bring that up.
Thank you.
The best mask is this. It's called N95
Yeah.
that forms kind of a complete seal around your mouth and nose. The reason we don't recommend those other masks is that you can still breathe stuff around the mask, but these N95 things, when they form a complete seal, um, viruses, infectious particles aren't going to get through that. I mean, it's breathing in those things is awful. It's miserable. You can't. It just feels like you can't ever get a breath. But when we swab people, that kind of respiratory protection is required. I don't do that. That's a nursing thing, but that's what the recommendation is. In these ERs, they're saving these masks for known exposures, people that seem high risk to have it. They're not just going to let me grab one and put it in my pocket. These things are going to become commodities. We're worried that those things won't be available when we really need them.
Right. How long are they good for? Because I only have one, and then I have a bunch of the regular masks that apparently don't do much unless you have it yourself or transmitting it to others. I have one N95. I'm an incredibly generous, kind of manly person, so I gave it to my girlfriend. She's a dental hygienist. She refuses to wear it at work. She thinks it's unnecessary and has to be professionally fit to your face. Is she wrong? Um, Can you fit it yourself, and how long do they last for?
Well, the I don't know how long they last. That's a good question. I don't imagine that they break them, unless it's all about the seal. And it's true they want to officially test you. You wear it, then they squirt this stuff that you can either smell or taste or whatever, and they just keep on. I mean, you're just like adjusting the strap. They want you to shave. You can't have much of a beard.
Right. I just shaved my beard off on account of not wanting to die.
Can she fit it herself? I think so. I mean,
Okay.
sure, the extra professional thing is
So
to get it.
in your professional medical opinion, my girlfriend's wrong and I'm right. I just want to get that on the podcast.
Um, you're speaking really fast. I don't know if your girlfriend's wrong and you're right.
That's
No,
correct.
I think she's actually right that usually it is uh, professionally done like that. And you are also right in that you could probably go without it and be fine. So I'm going to say you're both right.
You broke up a little bit there, but you said I'm 100% right and she's wrong. Thank you for going on the record like that. Um, what is the advice you give to everybody listening to this, watching this on the video version of the podcast? What's the advice? What do we obviously wash your hands for 20 seconds, sing the happy birthday song twice or once the way Marilyn Monroe did it when trying to publicly seduce John F. Kennedy. What else? Don't touch surfaces. Don't touch old people. You see an old person, run in fear. Tell them you're old, you might die, get away from them quickly. But what else is it important to self quarantine everybody? If you don't have symptoms, should we all be staying home? Should we not be going to restaurants, movie theaters? Should we not be out in public if at all possible?
I think what I would advise everybody is we're going to be okay. If you're young and healthy, remember this isn't really a great threat to your life, but we all need to do our parts so that we save older people's lives by not filling up the ERs and the ICUs. Should we not go out at all? I don't think we're at that point. We may get to a point where it is locked down like Italy. We're not there yet. Things are going to get worse. Anticipate that. And the other thing is pay attention to your mental health. So there's so much fear, panic, anxiety. Like, make sure you're exercising, sleeping, take care of yourself, meditate, deep breathe through this stuff. That will lower the adrenaline. And at the end of the day, it's going to be this is Corona season. Okay, winter is coming. Like Game of Thrones thing. There are going to be more infections in the hospitals, and then the news media is going to pick it up. It's going to freak everybody out. I want you to anticipate that and know that eventually infections, they go up, they're going to go down. We're going to be done with this. I think we should have Corona Fest in September where there's a worldwide celebration when we can finally get together again and have a concert. But we will get through this. Look at all these horrible things in history, whether it's the 1918 flu, HIV. We didn't know what the hell was going on for years with that thing. This
People
one
thought
we're
that
on.
could be airborne, and it turns out to be hysteria in that instance. So,
Yeah, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through it, but
but
it's
then
going to
why
be
not
rough.
stay home? Why not stay home whenever possible? I'm doing that. I'm not going to friends' birthday gatherings at bars. I'm trying to not go out. I'm having you live via Skype, even though you live next door to me and you could come over easily. That's not true. You live in Venice, and I don't know why anybody would do that. It's so far, and it's a real nightmare to get there. But should we not try to avoid people when possible for that exact reason, to avoid passing it to
No,
the elderly who are very weak and feeble?
I I think again, I think some of this stuff is, um, what I would call low yield. Um, are you doing your part? Could it help? Maybe. There's the big things that we should absolutely be doing. When somebody's got it, absolutely they should stay home and not go out for a couple weeks. When you've got an outbreak in a nursing home or whatever, then you need to go on lockdown there and aggressively prevent it. Should the average person who may not have any symptoms, we're not even sure if they have it, should they be self quarantining for a month, 6 weeks? I think that's a bit much. I'm not convinced that that alone, that kind of a thing is warranted. That what we still say all the time for influenza, besides get your flu shot, is same stuff. Wash your hands. when you are sick with a fever and all these flu symptoms, stay home. Nobody listens, right, with the flu. We're going to listen now with this thing. That's the stuff that we're sure about. Being so aggressive and pushing it to this quarantine because people don't show symptoms and stuff like that. Like, I want to tell you that, yeah, let's everybody do it, but
Okay. One last coronavirus related question for you. As you're touching your face, seems the right time. This is a very practical question I have not heard asked or answered in any of the media. They say if you're out in public, don't touch your face. But a lot of us touch our faces by habit. I do. I'm a nail biter, I touch my face. I do all kinds of stuff. What do you do if you're out in public? You don't have sanitizer and you accidentally touch your face. Let's say you just shook someone's hand or you came too close to somebody or somebody coughed near you and you touch your face. Do you run to a bathroom and wash your face with soap? Or do you just hope you're okay? How
no,
serious do you take that?
I think if you're looking at it like that, that's too much. These studies I saw that you touch your face 20 to 50 times every hour. You
I'm at
know,
least triple that. I go about 150 to 450 times an hour.
like I mean, how many times have I touched my face in the last 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing how much you're touching your face. I really wish you would slow it down. You're making me nervous from a virility standpoint.
You know, I touch my face a lot less when I do in-person interviews and podcasts. So this is
I
unfortunately
understand that. I understand that.
me over the computer. But
So don't wash your face. You don't need to run to a bathroom and wash your face.
well, I mean, let's pretend you were exposed. It's too late. If you already
Okay.
touched this, the damage has been done. But look, you're not. It isn't. I if you're touching your face, there's 1,000 times you could put it in there. I don't know. That's too much.
Oh, that
I
is
think
a key question though. What you just brought up. So
much.
I don't think people know how these things work. So if you touch your, let's say you have a little bit of coronavirus germs on your hand and you touch your nose. Okay, is it for sure in your nasal cavity now? You said it's too late. Or maybe you touched it on the outside of your nose, and if you run and wash it, it might not get in there. But if you keep breathing, it might get in there. Or is it just
Yeah,
either it
but
gets in there or it doesn't?
yeah, but you don't know where it is when it just that's I think that's just it's too much. I think that's absurd. Look, there's a spectrum, right? Like on the one hand, if you find somebody who's got coronavirus and you go up and you French kiss them and then they sneeze and cough in your face, that's a 100% exposure, right? You're gonna get that thing.
I should stop
Maybe
doing that?
I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life ever,
Thank
brother.
you. Thank you. I
It's
thought you were getting a
important.
little controlling there suddenly.
On the other end, like somebody has coronavirus and they're across the street and they walk by you, like, is that an exposure? No, that's nothing. And then there's all this stuff in between. Well, what if I'm in an airplane? Oh, well, the airplane is so well filtered and purified. I'm like, I don't know about that. Somebody's sitting next to you, like coughing and sneezing and whatever. Guess what? You're exposed. If you're in the front of the plane and they're in the back of the plane, it's less. Is it zero? No, it's something. What is it? I don't know.
What about wiping down seats with like these Clorox wipes? Like, I actually get afraid that you're actually then touching it more. Like, I know you got that little thin cloth between your hand, but is that better? Wipe down a seat, carefully throw it away, wash your hands, then sit back down?
I think there's some things where it makes sense to wipe them down. You know, computers when you're using them in a public place, the bench press at gym or whatever. But I think what you're getting into also is, look, we can't control. You can't control this stuff, and it's hard that some of this is just without our control. A lot of us are going to get this,
Right.
regardless of. You could do everything right and still the virus is so contagious that and you're in a certain part of town or whatever, that you're in a busy enough metropolitan area that you're gonna get it. So, and for most folks, again, who are young and healthy, it's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be a big problem.
As an extra, I'm somebody that goes a little bit extra cautious. So I'm not going to the gym just on the off chance. I stopped going to the gym 5 years ago, just in case a pandemic like this happened.
Then that's one less thing you have to worry about.
I love
but
that.
But you're right. You bring up a good point. And I was talking about this tonight with people. A couple of friends of mine were like, "Hey, we're worried. Like, should we go to this party or not?" And one of the questions I have for them is, "What is your risk tolerance? If you get this, you're probably going to be fine. But are you going to freak out? If you are going to freak out, you might not want to go to a party because there is some risk.
Right.
Somebody could have it there. Can't tell you that's zero. On the other hand, if you're like, you know what? I'm okay with maybe going a place and I know that there's a low risk that I might have it. You're not going to the nursing home in Washington that had the breakout with all the deaths, right? Like that's foolish. Going about your day, like maybe you're going to go to yoga class, maybe you're going to go to a party of 10
Mm.
people. The number is like the number where the CDC was like no more greater than this was 10. I don't know why. I guess
Really?
after 10 people, the chance that somebody is infectious goes up. I can't imagine that there's a big difference between 5,000 and 10,000. I feel like in that group you're going to have somebody there, but
But
anyway, the
10
point
people is what the CDC said? 10 people.
10 a 10-person party, they're like, oh,
Yeesh.
more than that, we got to shut them down. And we're not talking about the NCAA tournament with 20 and 30,000 people
Right.
in a stadium. But
So you don't believe that we're at the level yet we need to be using young children as carrier pigeons?
I
Tying notes
really,
to them, throwing them off buildings and saying, fly, young boy.
you have brought up a lot of ideas that are outside of the box.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if anybody's ever suggested you run for political office, but I just like the way that you're thinking.
Nobody has.
I see a future there.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Last week on Earth. Last week on